What's up, everybody? We're here in Brisbane City, back at it after a little hiatus we had because of the weather and other issues that were holding us back from being out here at our regular spot in Queen Street Mall. But we're back at it today in Queen Street Mall with a small and awesome crew. We're operating for 6 hours today, so we're doing a longer cube than we usually do, which is 4 hours, and it's been great so far. We have reached a large number of people with this small crew that we have, and I'm feeling really good about that. I just had a lengthy discussion with an older man who, I'm really pleased with it because I spend more time with him than I usually would, but the reason I committed to that was because I could see that he was actually open and willing to listening, and it just took a bit more work for him to understand that he was completely responsible and that he couldn't deflect and hide behind an appeal to futility and a defeatist attitude and what others are doing or not doing, and not conflating this with his health and not conflating this with any other issue that we can or cannot control around the world. He brought up Russia and Ukraine, so I said, of course there are a lot of issues in the world, but you're not responsible for those issues, are you? You're not responsible for what Russia is doing, are you? You're not responsible for any issue that you're referring to, but you are responsible for what we're talking about right now, right? On these screens, the screen that I'm showing you in the back here displays the reality of the meat, dairy and egg industries and the reality of what's happening at the hands of non-vegan choices that are completely unnecessary. And by the end of it, he declared that he will be vegan. And we've had a number of people that have declared that with us today. So it's been a fantastic day. I'm happy about how things have gone so far today. We have a lot of foot traffic in this area. And hey, Jean. Jean's at a cube right now in France. It's good to see you checking in. Jean is one of our regional organizers in France, so power to you over there. Have a fantastic cube. I see some of your comments. Everybody, thank you for the support. Really appreciate it. And it's just great to be back after a short hiatus. Back here with a Cube of Truth for 6 hours, I believe is the first 6-hour cube in Brisbane. So we're kicking ass for the animals out here, and I'm here to remind you all that if you do have a Cube of Truth that you're attending this weekend, or you're doing any form of activism whatsoever, make sure you approach it with gusto. Go out there and make it the best day of activism possible. We've got a first-time activist joining, first-time Cuba, I should say, joining us today for the full 6 hours. She's been great. She's been doing such great work. Really pleased with the turnout here in Brisbane City. So, I just wanted to check in with you guys and remind you of the imperative that we have to speak up for these non-human individuals and make sure that their voice is heard in society, because they're voiceless in our society, and make sure that we're doing what we can, and the least that we can do is be out here speaking to people who are open and willing. We're not wasting time with people who aren't, and we're getting the point across that they have a responsibility and a moral obligation to no longer be an animal abuser and to no longer be responsible for, in fact, the worst form of animal abuse on earth. Okay, so with that, I'm going to flip the screen and I'm going to show you some of what we're showing on the footage. For vegans, you don't have to watch this, but for non-vegans who may be watching this, this is a reminder of what it is exactly that you're responsible for. Now, we're showing you the best case scenario for these industries. These industries actually claim that these are the most humane methods, and they use that word humane as a wash. You know, there are many products out there that greenwash and say that they're environmentally friendly. This is a humane wash, and this is free range, as you can see in the corner of the screen. We label exactly what these industries label as, we're showing you what they label as free range. This is a free range farm. Now, if you think that this could be done better, if you think that there is a better way to do this, then you are wrong, because no matter how you look at this, you have to look at this from the animal's point of view. And if you do that, you will realize very quickly that there is no way to do this in a humane way. All of these animals are subjected to enslavement, some level of torment, and that torment is something that you would never want to endure and you would never accept for yourself, and they're always murdered. None of these things are morally acceptable for individuals who have the capacity to suffer. None of these things are morally acceptable for an unnecessary reason. Okay, so what we're showing you are the standard practices across the board in the meat, dairy, and egg industries. And again, unless you are vegan, this is what you're responsible for, the worst form of animal abuse on earth. Now, if anyone takes issue with the fact that this is the worst form of animal abuse on earth, if anyone disagrees, can you imagine anything worse that you could do to an animal than what is happening in these industries? And that is the reason why this is the worst form of animal abuse on earth. Now, that isn't even mentioning the rate at which this is happening. And when you look at the rate at which this is happening, it's happening by the trillion every year. Over 3 trillion animals are subjected to this every year. Now, even if this was happening to one animal every year, it's happening unnecessarily and it can't be justified. For people who live in a modern society like this, in Brisbane city, even if you live in a small town, but certainly in a city like this, we absolutely have no reason why this can be justified. You may think that this is a mockery that we're standing here and representing these animals, but you're only speaking from your programming in a society where this is normalized, and hopefully you have a stronger, independent mind that can critically think, and you're able to see beyond social norms and live according to your own individual values. And most people will say that they're against animal abuse, and so we're here to reflect your own values back to you, and hopefully you will align your actions with the values that you say you have. In order to not be an animal abuser, you must be vegan, and that is a fact. And with that, I'm going to end the stream. Non-vegans, please visit cubatruth.com. Watch the documentary that these scenes are taken from. It's called Dominion. There's also a speech on there called The Best Speech You'll Ever Hear. That's convinced millions of people to become vegan. So if you're not convinced, by the end of this, go over to that website and watch The Best Speech You'll Ever Hear. And there's also a short film there called Norm, which speaks more about social norms and how you are subjected to that unless you think for yourself and you live according to the values that you say you have. There's also resources on there that can help. If you're vegan and watching this and you'd like to be involved in the work that we do, go over to jointhecube.com. That's jointhecube.com, and you can find your local chapter and get involved, or you can even start your own chapter with us. So check that web link out. If you're not able to join a Cube of Truth, or you're not able to be involved on the streets in any way, you can support us financially, and I'd like to take a moment to thank those who do support us financially, because it does help our work to continue moving forward, and we appreciate that. Help us help the animals by doing those things, and we'll continue to be out here. And with that, I'm going to end the stream. See you on the streets.